Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for joining us for another Acumatica webinar, Project Budget and Cost Forecasting. Let's go ahead and get started. At the end, we will open it up for questions. What we need to discuss in Acumatica is, first of all, we need to look at our projects and understand what we have on our projects. So I'm going to open up a project. We'll use the hotel for this reference. And as you can see, there is a lot of information on a project inside of Acumatica. The three we're going to focus on right now are our tasks, which is just a grouping, our revenue budget, and our cost budget. So if we look at the tasks, we can set those up. You have to have a task for every schedule of value, but we can make them cost revenue associated on both sides for roll-ups and anything else we might need reported. I will draw your attention to this planned start date because these do come into play. You don't necessarily need them, but it makes it easier when we are setting up these different budgets. First thing, let's take a look at our revenue budget. So on our revenue budget tab, we have our schedule of values. We have our original budget and our revised budget with our change orders. And we have our draft invoices and actual amounts. On our cost budget, we have it broken down by the task and cost code, and that same information, that original budgeted amount, the change orders, our revised budgets, committed amounts, and if you scroll over here, you can see our actual amounts, and it also tracks right here on these cost codes our projected cost at completion. So we're going to talk about how these things are adjusted and looked at in the system. So this is just originally going in, setting up my budget, my estimate for the job versus my contract for the job. Within Acumatica, we have the ability to do something called project budget forecasts. This particular tool will allow us to project a cash flow from our projects. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go in and I'm going to create a brand new one. So I'm going to select a job. So we'll use that same hotel job here. And then I can create a new revision. So I can always do my plus key here, say this is revision 2, and we can just say this is my budget forecast. As you can see, all of my budget lines come in. Now, at this time, I'm looking at both my cost budget lines and my revenue budget lines. If we look right here where it says type all, I can separate those and do them separate. So I could go into my expense budget lines and only see those. If I come over here and I tell it I want to add periods, you'll notice that the period from and to date are already there for me. Those are coming from Acumatica in that planned start and end date. I can adjust these, I can change them here, but if we have them there, it just makes it easier to bring in those numbers. And what you're going to see is right now it's lump sum, right? This is the total amount. But when we hit OK, what's going to happen is all those months are going to get added to that section. So I can do it to every single section I want to. I can come down here and maybe I'm doing it in my concrete section or my forming section. But we're going to be able to project this information out across multiple months. So I'm just going to add periods there also. You see that they came different for this particular one because that's the planned start date and end date. So what I see when I'm looking at this is I'm seeing across the top what I have in the system currently. That is including the revised budget and my actual amounts, along with any change orders we might see. But now I can either go ahead and just say, I want to spread this out, or month by month, I can say what I want to do with this. So as we come in here and we click into a field, I can tell this that, this month we're only going to do $20,000 out of that cost budget. Sorry, 20,000. and so forth down the line. And you can see I'm getting my delta. It's telling me whether I'm in the right place or the wrong place at any given time. So we can do this on every single line within our budget. So instead of having it for a single total amount of the job, I can actually start seeing what I think we're going to spend on these jobs every single month, allowing me to project what I think my cash flow is going to be from these jobs. We do it for our expense side, and we can come in and do it for our income side. How much money do I expect to receive each month? This is going to allow me to get some cash flow reporting. So at any time, I can always save this. I can come back to it. I can pull up the old budget, see that information. I could have taken this revision and copied that revision to the next one and then just changed what I needed to on it. So the first one's obviously the most difficult to get through. As we have that information, and as I mentioned before, we can come through here and I can tell it to distribute this information. You can see this was done evenly with my distribute button, but we'll also be able to get my project budget forecast by month, a quick report here. Other reports can be developed because this information is in the system. If it's in the system, you can always report off of it. So now I'm actually seeing a month by month project budget breakdown for each one of those cost codes throughout the system. This is a feature that I have not seen in other systems, and it really does give us an accounting and an ownership and operations management a little bit better view as to what's going on and what we can be expecting to see in future months. The other side of this equation is going to be in our cost projections. So Acumatica does give us the ability to do projected cost. So I'm going to open up that screen real quick, and we can go in and I'll just create a new one. So I'm going to select the project. We'll do the hotel. And what I typically like to do, guys, is go through and create, different revisions. So anytime I want to, I could do a revision. Now, cost projections are usually done monthly, right? So a lot of our clients will put in maybe October 21. So we have that information in there. We can put October 21 here. Now, if you look up here, I have cost projection classes. So I can set up multiple classes. I could have a weekly class, a monthly class. I can have an annual class on these projections and do it annually. But I'm just going to say this is something I do every month. It's automatically going to put a date in, but I can change the date if I need to. And we're going to do the same situation that we had done before. So I can come in and I can tell it to add project lines, budget lines. So I can come up here and just say add them all. I could add individual ones that I want to add in this particular format, but we're just going to go ahead and say add lines and close. So now I have my entire budget, my cost budget in the system. And you'll notice that I have a lot of information here again. I have my budgeted cost or quantity to complete. I have actual costs. I can see my commitment open costs. I can see the actual plus open. So, everything that's out there that's committed still that I'm going to have to pay, plus everything I've spent to date. So you can see it right here. That really shows up well. And I can see projected quantity at completion and projected cost at completion, projected quantity to complete, and projected cost at completion. Now, these two fields over here, or this field here, this cost to complete, is a calculated field. You can see I can't get into it. It's based off of here's my budget, here's how much we've spent, here's how much more we're going to do. So we have the ability to come in and correct these fields here and this field here. You also have the ability, let's just say you're not using quantities. You can always come down here and remove those quantities. So I can just say, I don't need that in my area here. Don't need that in my area. And we can leave the rest. I can tell it that this one, since it's the one that's calculated by the system, maybe I move it up here or down here. So you can see how those fields change. So we get to make those the way you want to, that makes the most sense to you in order to complete this process. Now I can see right next to my projected cost of completion what the system thinks our cost to complete is. What's really neat about this is I can do multiple things here. So I could come in here and I could say, now my projected cost of completion is probably going to be $7,500. And you're going to notice my projected cost to complete and my percentage, if there was a percentage, would update. Okay. I could have come over here and said projected cost to complete. You know, maybe I only want to change this from 5,000. I think we're only going to spend another $2,000. Well, you're going to notice that my completed percent jumped up to 86%. My projected cost of completion went down. So I can do it from any one of these levels throughout the system. So on that particular one, that was our operations superintendent. You can see that my projected cost to complete is 2,000. The projected cost of completion, it's all there for me. If something's happened, you know, maybe you took a couple of days to do this, you know, somebody's gone in, done something to the budget, done something with cost, we always have the ability to just click right here and say refresh this, and it'll bring in the new information. Okay, so you always have those ability, but when you do it, you notice that my 2,000 went away. It's going to refresh the entire system. Once we have completed this, we can come up here, we can save it. We can go ahead and take it off of hold. We can remove hold right here. And I can go ahead and release this. So we'll just release it. So that's now released. Once again, when I come in next month, I do have the ability to just copy this revision. Both places show it to me. So all of the information I put in there this month would be there next month for me to update, if that's the way you like to do things. Since we have released this and pushed it over to the job, if I come back into my job real quick here, and we'll go over to my cost budget. Let me just maximize that, guys. And we'll scroll across. So here's my operations superintendent. If we look across, you can see my projected cost to complete has been updated on my job screen to what I put in there. Once again, we pull that into reports. We could pull it into a WIP report, whatever it is that you need done from an accounting standpoint or a management standpoint, it's now available to us. So this is a complete system in Acumatica. It gives us a lot of added features that maybe you haven't seen in the past if you're using something like a 300 or a 100. Gives us that cost projection capability right in the system, which a lot of times accounting doesn't have access to. It's done outside the system, and allows us to pull all that information into reporting and really lets us know how we are doing as a corporation.